Todd Howard has done it again, folks. Everyone can rest easy now knowing that Bethesda has officially released Skyrim in space. Time to start my adventure. What a wonderful... Wait a sec. This game seems different. What is... Oh God, what has Todd done?
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit! Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Troy here. And today I wanted to give some of my final thoughts on Starfield. I know I'm way behind, but you know, I'm a busy guy. I also took a week trip to Italy, so there's that, but I just really want to get my final thoughts out there. And geez, this game is incredibly polarizing. Amongst Bethesda fans, casual players, content creators, opinions on this game are all over the place. I want to take a look at that polarization as well as, break down some of the mechanics and the flaws or the pros of the game. And if you're unfamiliar with my reviews, I like to take a look at the game from a normie gamer's perspective. Someone who enjoys gaming on the weekends or after work, not a content creator or a basement dwelling Redditor, someone with responsibilities, and most important, someone with limited time and money. With that, the bottom line question I like to ask is the game worth it? Is it worth the money, of course, but most importantly, the time and the energy, because we are all busy and got a lot of shit going on. Now, my last Starfield video, I gave my impressions and I dove into its critiques it's received on specifically how it is boring. I don't really want to rehash that here, so if you want a deeper dive on that, I recommend you check it out. But in summary, no, I don't think Starfield is boring personally, but I can see how some people might based upon their expectations and of course Todd Howard's just marketing skills.
And I want to be clear, actually that feature is not coming out at launch.
Todd.
But so how good or bad is Starfield? Well, to just throw it out there, it's kind of a love or hate it game. It's not a bad game by any means. I think it's actually good, but it's definitely not a 10 out of 10 game of the year. And I have over 70 hours at the time of recording, so I've been able to really sink my teeth into a lot of its different mechanics and let things stew a bit. And there are parts of Starfield that can really hold the game back for some people. But if you can embrace these, you'll love it. And if you like my content or this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I enjoy engaging with everybody in the comments and hearing your takes, whether they're shit or not. A lot of them are shit. But we can all have opinions, and that's okay. So strap in. Let's get that countdown going and blast off to take a look at Starfield. Wow, what a stupid dad joke.
Boo! You stink!
Now, I've always loved Bethesda games. I still consider Skyrim one of my favorite gaming experiences of all time. I was 15 when it first came out, and those first few months of me playing it may have been when I truly fell in love with single-player video games. And don't be mistaken, I had played Oblivion and Fallout 3 previously, but Skyrim cemented it for me. I was also a bit older and could appreciate these things more. And I refused to play 76.
16 times the detail.
This is a $60 game.
Fuck that, Bethesda. Don't even bother doing multiplayer. Just make good single-player experiences, please. Maybe I'll do like a Bethesda RPG tier list, rating them all. Could be fun. Anyways, I'm a big fan, but that doesn't mean I can't admit Bethesda's faults. I know they have a ton of issues with bugs and, misleading marketing. I admit this, and I want to take a look at Starfield as unbiased as possible while also talking about what I find fun on a personal level. Because these can be different. You can love something and admit its issues. Wow, shocker. And as always, I like to remind everyone that these are just that. Opinions, people. Just opinions. Video games are not that serious. There are much bigger issues in this world.
We're all here because we're committed to the biggest question of all. What's out there?
I always like to start off with the technicals of a game, as I believe it's the bones of a video game. The graphic and sound design, as well as the performance, UI, bugs, all those kind of sweet things. And you know, like bones, they don't need to be super strong, but if they are broken, we're going to have some big problems. That's actually pretty good. I'm glad I came up with that. And I have to say, Bethesda actually didn't do bad here, especially compared to their usual dog shit. We can start off with graphics. Bethesda games are usually like 5 years behind, and here they're only like 3. But in reality, the graphics aren't bad, but not great. The lighting is real nice in certain environments and can look cool, but then some textures can look real awful. It's just inconsistent, but better than how they usually do. And let's talk about the faces, which, like the textures themselves, aren't bad, but then the animations are shit. Again, why are they behind 5 years? Bethesda, have you ever heard of motion capture? A lot of games are doing it nowadays. I know you have a large budget, so I don't know. Sound design here is standard, nothing to go crazy about. Guns sound like guns, zips blasting off, yahoo! I will say the voice acting is actually good, and they hired more than like 3 dudes and their moms like they had for Skyrim.
There's a million ways the bastards in command will ask you to compromise. Little ways, big ways. Don't. It may hurt your career, but I look back with pride at my service. Especially today.
They actually have a very diverse cast, and rarely have I heard the same voice. I'll also do a quick shout out of the soundtrack, which, even though it's not very big, does capture the essence of the world in the right way and can highlight some real sweet epic moments. And that's swell, baby. This UI though is pretty bad, specifically the inventory. It's very awkward to navigate, and they have these huge boxes that take up space for no reason. I have no idea why games nowadays like to do this, and it's a shame because you spend a lot of time in these menus. And of course, bugs and performance, which Bethesda is infamous for, which here isn't great, but not completely broken like most Bethesda games. Let's give a round of applause. Yes. So yeah, the game came out relatively playable. I did encounter a handful of funny or strange bugs, and sometimes shit can get awkward and janky. Yeah, dude, that shit's just broke. Alright, let's see if...
Hey, what can I do for you?
See if I adjust
Sure.
anything
How
on the
about it?
ship. Like if I add a part, maybe it'll... Oh, that worked. Thank fucking God. I was about to be so pissed if I had to sell my ship or some shit. But overall, nothing that is really ruining my time. So kudos for improving Bethesda, giving us, you know, kind of the bare minimum. We appreciate that. So with the technical bones out of the way, what about the meat? Or the meat and potatoes?
What the fuck?
Alright, starting with combat, which is kind of mixed. The shooting is Bethesda's best, which isn't saying much, but it does feel nice and tight. I feel weird saying that, nice and tight. It's not floaty anymore like Fallout. The amount of guns here and variety is solid, and with all the different mods, there's a lot of fun to be had for gun lovers. However, that's only for ballistics, which are like 30 something different guns, but they're only like 5 laser guns. What the fuck? Who made the decision to just pump out ballistic weapons but then ignore the sci-fi lasers in a sci-fi game? And the melee is terrible, which I just can't understand. Like, just use Skyrim's system. It was simple, but it felt good. You had it all there. Why go backwards? It's a shame that melee builds just aren't fun and viable. I didn't mess around with stealth much, but from what I did see and hear, it's impossible without dumping crazy skill points into it. So the balancing is just all out of whack, which I'm sure Bethesda or modders can fix down the road, but that isn't an excuse. Overall, if you go anything outside of the ballistics, you're going to run into issues, and that's not how RPG games should be designed. And the spacesuit system is a bit lackluster here as well. It just isn't as satisfying to find new spacesuits as it is to find badass pieces of armor. And the rarity system is a bit odd with the usual different colored tiers, but Then another tier that is defined by level, like refined and calibrated. The loot is just overall a mixed bag. You can find the occasional cool gun or helmet or whatever, but that's about it. All right, and now with character progression and leveling. The skill system here, I think, is done for the most part pretty well. It's not super deep and fairly straightforward, so I won't go into detail explaining here, but it does a real effective job of breaking the skills out into 5 categories. And with some planning ahead, you can create a character build that will focus in what activities you like, whether you maybe want an explorer scientist, a badass merc, a space captain, or maybe some sort of mix. Lots of skills feel real impactful, such as a ship command, increasing your crew size, making you really feel like this cool Starfleet captain. But then again, there are some stinkers here that are worthless or unbalanced, with, again, balancing issues. This is commonplace in most RPGs when they first come out, so I can't get too upset. It should get fixed with updates or mods. But in the end, the progression left me feeling excited to level up and develop my character further, which is ultimately what you want. Now, where Starfield really kicks it up a notch compared to their previous titles is the dialogue. Todd wasn't lying when they mentioned all the different voice lines. The amount of options you have for responses is bigger than ever, allowing for some fun role-playing. And the persuasion minigame is actually not that bad. I think it's getting a lot of hate. And I wonder though if the effort put into this would have been better used on some of Starfield's cracks. Regardless, it's a welcome addition and adds another layer to dialogue. I will say though that the stories and the quests in Starfield are pretty strong for the most part. The faction quests are particularly great. I haven't done every single one, but what I have done, they are blasts, specifically the Crimson Fleet one. If you're feeling unsure of what to do, I'd suggest starting one of these. And there are a ton of interesting side quests as well. The amount here is staggering. However, where it kind of falters is the main plot. It gets interesting at some points, but ultimately kind of falls flat. No big spoilers, but there are some cool elements that breathe a little bit of fantasy elements into it that I like. And that kind of leads into the general setting and world building, which is a huge part of Bethesda games. They always have an interesting and cool world to explore. And here I am happy to say I believe it's pretty good. It went for a more realistic tone with spaceships looking not too distant from what we see today. Humanity has not contacted any intelligent life yet, so it's more of an expanse or interstellar vibe rather than Star Trek. But Bethesda does inject enough interesting factions and history here to make the world feel cool. And I'm left wanting to learn more and see where humanity goes from here. So for me personally, its world is not on par with, say, Elder Scrolls, but I did find it more interesting than Fallout. But for some, I could see how the more realistic tone here isn't their cup of tea. I believe the biggest issue in Starfield is how exploration and discovery is handled. And this is the core reason why Starfield has been so polarizing amongst Bethesda fans. You see, in Elder Scrolls and Fallout, one of the core draws is the world and setting, as I just said, and the ability to wander and explore this area. There's always a sense of this huge open map and traversing across it and making all these discoveries along the way, being pulled in different directions or seeing an interesting structure off in the distance. When you need to go somewhere new, you would fast travel to the nearest discovered point and then hoof it over. This helped facilitate further discoveries and flesh out the world. Starfield has gotten rid of this structure, and for some more than others, it's real difficult to get over this. Most of the exploration is done through the star map. You don't see points of interest through your character's eyeballs, but rather on the map, and you can choose to go somewhere through a loading screen and then you just land directly on it. And you have to pull up this map so many damn times, and like I've said, the UI is clunky. It's not the slickest to get through, so this just exaggerates the issue. And now I get it. The game is set in space, so we couldn't have one continuous map like the Elder Scrolls or Fallout that we can just wander around. We need to go to different planets and have this broken up by space travel. So a star map is necessary. But the star map itself isn't the problem. It could still be in the game. It's that there isn't any meaningful exploration outside of the star map. There is none of the Bethesda open world wandering spirit. Sure, you can land on a planet and walk around and discover things from your character's point of view, but what you discover is procedurally generated and dull. The cities and towns and space stations are the only real handcrafted content, with the environments of planets being procedurally generated. And the cities and towns are actually really good too. They are dense and full of interesting quests and content. You know, the game would be a lot better if they at least made 2 or 3 zones that were not cities but rather landscapes that were handcrafted and meaningful. If that means to get rid of some of the planets, so be it. You know, damn, this game might have been better if it was just 5 to 8 planets, all with cool cities, and you know, they just had the surrounding area that you could explore, such as like the Outer Worlds. Now, on the other side, the Outer Worlds did feel really small and contained compared to Starfield. You do get a sense in Starfield, wow, this world is huge, and I got excited to explore it. It's just the execution of that exploration that was lackluster and clunky. Now, I think for some, this is real hard to get over and a deal breaker for Starfield. However, I think for others, personally include myself here, we can move past this. I've kind of learned to let the quests and content I find in the cities and hubs guide me, not my own wandering or what I discover or see. And this game does throw a lot of player-oriented content at you. You'll be walking through a town and be thrown side quests left and right. And I'm not just saying this to excuse the design decisions for Starfield. I'm just pointing out why I think some people are able to move past this and others are not, hence the extreme polarization. But regardless, in the end, I think Bethesda did strip a major aspect of their games, and in the end, it does hurt the experience. However, I do want to mention there is a sort of cataloging and scanning activity or mechanic that you can partake in and that actually can earn you a good amount of XP and credits. Basically, when you're on any planet, you can scan enough fauna or flora and you're rewarded XP. And if you complete an entire planet's catalog, you can get a pretty good chunk as well as some good credits. Now, for a lot of people, I can see how this could be considered boring. However, I actually surprisingly found it enjoyable. You know, with the science skill tree, you can kind of spec your character and be really good at this. So it's kind of fun. You can create like a scientist, explorer type character. I wanted to make sure to bring this mechanic up because I believe if you do find this activity enjoyable, it's another big reason why you'll be able to look past maybe some of the more lackluster exploration. So in short, you know, if you can embrace fast travel, let the quest sort of guide you or find the scanning activity enjoyable, you will enjoy Starfield, or at least enjoy the explorative aspects of it. But that's asking for a lot, and I think most people won't be able to get over this. And I'll also touch briefly on the ship and the base building, as I'm sure you've already heard that these are actually really good. You know, base building is really not my thing, but damn, the shipbuilding got me here. My main draw to the game is getting bigger and better ships and making a larger, more badass crew. Kind of funny, I am not a car guy, I kind of hate cars, but damn do I love Starfield's starships. And again, these things are not for everyone, but I gotta mention they're there and they're pretty good. You know, like I said, Starfield's a very polarizing game, but if there's another thing I will say about it is there's nothing really kind of like Starfield out there. And that's not what I mean. And this game is not necessarily doing anything amazing or shaking up the Bethesda formula, but what it's really doing is smashing together a lot of different games from the sci-fi genre to sort of create something that some people might consider their dream game, or at least a simplified version of it. It's a sort of ultimate sci-fi RPG experience that hasn't been created before. Now think about it, it's a bit of a Frankenstein, right? It takes a bit of No Man's Sky's scope and planet exploration with Mass Effect's crew building and relationships, Elite Dangerous's shipbuilding and sort of sim aspects, and Outer World RPG elements, character building, world building. You know, there's more I could point out, but probably these are some of the more big comparisons. While Starfield does none of these individual mechanics better than where they are derived from, it does sort of smash them all together into one game. It's as if Todd had a list of things they wanted to hit and to create the ultimate sci-fi experience, and then they just barely hit each one and they did a decent job at it. And you know, for me, it is cool to see all these things together. It's like I always thought, oh, what if No Man's Sky actually had some structured plots, cool factions or combat? Or what if Mass Effect was more open-ended and I could be a cool, badass captain with a crew and just explore around on my own whim? Starfield sort of answers these questions, which I think is why so many people are kind of loving it. Now, could it have all done better? Yes, it could, and I wish it did. And maybe another studio can come along and do that, or maybe Bethesda can improve on it with DLC or mods or even Starfield 2. We will just have to wait and see. So in conclusion, Starfield is tough for me because objectively I see it has a ton of issues, but subjectively I can't help but have a lot of fun. But it's not Bethesda's best either, and for the amount of time they put into it and how this is, 2023, I think we should have expected a bit more. And so it makes sense to be a bit upset, especially coming off of Baldur's Gate 3, where Larian, a studio the fraction of Bethesda's size, was able to crush it. Yeah, we should expect a lot more. And even though at the end of the day, I am having a lot of fun and enjoying the game on a personal level, I have to take a look at it objectively and realize that with a lot of questionable design decisions and promises, the game falls kind of short of what we know Bethesda can do. So personally, I might want to give the game like an 8.5 or even a 9. Again, objectively, I have to give the game a 7.5 out of 10. I'd consider it a good game, but definitely not great. And so, is Starfield worth it for the normie gamer? My answer to that question is maybe. So be careful. Like I said, it's an acquired taste. If you can come to terms with the fast travel and be ready for a more dialogue heavy experience, or fall in love with a few of its side activities like shipbuilding, Starfield can really suck you in. So yeah, this game is just a few great mods or DLCs away from greatness. And it is a shame that they couldn't quite get it there on release, but I'm looking forward to playing some more and seeing what comes next. Again, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button. Let me know down in the comments below if you think I'm right or wrong, if you're having a lot of fun, if you think I'm the smartest YouTuber ever.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Hope you all have a wonderful day.